Today's story, Flicka, Ricka, Dicka, and the Girl Next Door by Maj Lindman. One bright morning, Flicka, Ricka, and Dicka, three little Swedish girls, ran out in the garden to play. The flowers were in bloom, and the birds were singing. "Let's race to the picket fence," said Flicka. Off across the grass ran the three little girls, but when they reached the fence they stared in surprise. In the next yard the big house, which had been closed ever since they could remember, was open. Someone stood on the porch, and a little girl in a yellow dress was sitting on the grass. Beside her were the most beautiful toys that Flicka, Ricka, and Dicka had ever seen. But the little girl was not playing with her toys. She sat quite still and looked sad and very lonely. "What a wonderful rocking horse!" exclaimed Ricka. "How I would like to ride on it just once!" The little girl in the yellow dress looked up and came over to Flicka, Ricka, and Dicka. "Won't you come over and play?" she asked shyly. "We'd love to," answered the three little girls. Ricka was the first to climb over the fence. "I'm Ricka," she said gaily as she shook hands. "These are my two sisters, Flicka and Dicka." "I am Anne-Marie," said the little girl in the yellow dress, "and this is my doll, Elizabeth." "Oh, she's beautiful." "And so is your yellow dress," said Ricka. "Are you a princess? You must be as rich as one to have all those playthings." "Oh, no," answered Anne-Marie. "Are you?" "Please don't make fun of me," replied Ricka. "I've never worn such a beautiful dress as yours in all my life, and I've never even seen such toys." "But you have two sisters, so you always have someone to play with. That's why I'm sure you must be a princess. A princess always has sisters or brothers, hasn't she?" "Perhaps," laughed Ricka. "But may I really ride on the rocking horse?" "And may I ride on your scooter?" asked Dicka. "And may I hold Elizabeth?" asked Flicka. "I'll be very careful." "Of course," agreed Anne-Marie. "Play with anything you like. Mother and Father have gone on a long trip and left me here with Nurse. I'm so happy to have you here to play with me." So all through the sunny morning, Flicka, Ricka, Dicka, and Anne-Marie played together. When Nurse asked them to come to the house for cake and cherry juice, they were delighted. "A really, truly party!" exclaimed Ricka, and she helped herself to a second piece of cake. But as she spoke, Anne-Marie spilled her glass of cherry juice. The bright red juice ran over the white tablecloth right down into her lap. "Anne-Marie, leave the table," scolded Nurse. "Just look at your pretty yellow dress. How many times must I tell you to take care of your pretty clothes? Whatever would your mother think if she could see you now?" "But I don't want to have pretty clothes," sobbed the little girl. "Why can't I have clothes just to play in?" "For shame, Anne-Marie," answered Nurse, taking her away from the table. But before Nurse could explain to her about going upstairs to change her dress, Anne-Marie ran out of the house and across the lawn to the picket fence. Flicka, Ricka, and Dicka quickly finished their cake. They drank all of their cherry juice. Then they thanked Nurse and ran out of the house and across the grass to Anne-Marie. They found her crying. "Why do I always have to take care of my dresses? Why must my dresses always be so pretty that I can't ever play in them?" she sobbed. "Don't cry, Anne-Marie," said Flicka, as she put her arm around her. "Come home with us to play. Mother will let you wear something of ours, something you can have fun in. Everything will be all right. Mother always understands." Ricka, who had already climbed the fence, was in her own garden. "Come quickly, Anne-Marie," she called, and beckoned. Across the garden ran the four little girls and into the house where Mother sat sewing in the sunshine. "Mother," cried Flicka, "here is Anne-Marie. She lives next door, and she's come over to play." "How do you do, Anne-Marie?" said Mother, smiling. Though Anne-Marie's cheeks were wet with tears, she remembered to curtsy. I'm going to lend her one of our overall suits, Mother, to play in," continued Flicka. "Then she can have real fun." "Very good," agreed Mother. "You know where they are. I'll go over and explain to Nurse that we have a guest for the afternoon." While Mother was gone, Flicka found the overalls. Dicka helped Anne-Marie put them on. "Now you can get all the stains you want on these," said Ricka as she helped Anne-Marie to button them. Soon Mother came back with Nurse's permission for Anne-Marie to stay and play. Then she suggested that Anne-Marie had better take off her pretty red beads before anything happened to them. "How would you 4 little girls like to help me in the garden?" she asked after she put the red beads away. "What fun!" exclaimed Flicka as she ran for a big basket. Dicka brought the rake and Anne-Marie smiled happily. Flicka used her own little basket to gather up all the twigs and dried leaves as she could find in the garden. As fast as it was full, she emptied it into a larger basket. Mother raked the lawn with her own large rake. Then she made the gravel paths very smooth. Ricka, Dicka, and Anne-Marie worked in the flower bed. The longer they worked, the blacker grew their hands and faces. Of course, Anne-Marie was very happy. She had on overalls. Now nothing could happen to her yellow dress. When she finally stood up, she laughed and said, "What fun this is! Part of it is the overalls, I guess, but mostly it's having someone to play with." The 4 little girls were so busy in the garden that they did not notice that Mother had put away her rake and had gone into the house. So they were very much surprised when they saw her coming toward them with a tray. On the tray were 4 glasses and a pitcher. "You have been busy every moment, and I know you must be tired," she said as she put the tray down before Ricka. "Here is milk. Can you pour some into each glass?" While Ricka poured the milk slowly and carefully, Mother went back to the house. This time she brought out a tray of sandwiches. Each little girl drank all her milk. Soon every sandwich was gone. The 4 little girls helped Mother carry the trays into the house. "They're empty now, so they're not heavy," said Flicka. "And the pitcher has nothing in it, so there's nothing to spill," laughed Anne-Marie as she carried it in. Then the 4 little girls sat talking about Elizabeth, Anne-Marie's beautiful doll. "Let's make dresses for her," said Flicka. "I'd rather ride on the rocking horse," said Ricka. "And I'd rather ride on the scooter," said Dicka. "Let's go!" cried Flicka, and toward the green picket fence ran the 4 little girls. Then they heard Nurse calling, "Anne-Marie, Anne-Marie." Mother had been walking them in the garden, so she came toward them. "Time to say goodbye, I'm afraid. It is growing late. Tomorrow will be another day, you know." "May Anne-Marie come over tomorrow, Mother?" asked Flicka. "We'll help again in the garden, the 4 of us," said Ricka. Mother bent down and hugged Anne-Marie as she asked, "Will you come? We would like to have you." "I want to come over tomorrow very much," answered the little girl. Of course, Nurse said later that she might, though at first she pretended not to know who the little girl was that stood before her in the overalls. The end.